Namaskar. Hello friends. Today I'll share with you my spiritual view of education and economy. Is education only to enable earning a living? The clamor for certain educational streams and elite institutions and the politics that inevitably gets into it is a result of the distorted purpose of education. The purpose of education today has unfortunately been narrowed down rather badly to enabling one to earn his living. While that is certainly one of the purposes, we should not be blind towards other purposes that may be even more important for the well-being of society. The primary aim of education should take into consideration the fact that each individual is a divine being in her own right. Also, each individual is different and is here for a different purpose. So, education should aim at finding out the true nature of each individual and at facilitating her development accordingly, so that the full potential and the divine purpose behind the existence of that individual is realized. Here are some views, especially from that kind of a spiritual perspective. 1. Education should be for the development of a complete personality in accordance with a child's strength and weaknesses, so that her strengths are capitalized upon and weaknesses get covered as much as possible. Second, if the objective is as in one above, then the courses and curricula have to offer much more choices so that every student is able to mix and match them so as to suit her personality, liking, situation, etc. Thirdly, then the education will have to be very modular with maybe even hundreds of small modules. Certain basic modules that may be thought as fundamental for every child's development can be bundled together into a foundation program, say up to the present middle school kind of a level. But the subsequent education should be completely flexible, and a student should be able to do as many modules and the ones she wants to do. It will mean that there will be no more standardized degrees, but simply a portfolio of modules qualified in. Fourthly, all jobs should specify the modules that are required to do that job effectively and efficiently. This will enable a student to decide what she wants to study depending upon her aptitude. Thus, for example, if a shop floor supervisor's job requires people management skills, a mechanical engineering student can study that module instead of, say, chemistry that may not be relevant to a shop floor supervisor in a machine shop. Fifthly, some modules may have prerequisites in terms of other modules that should be studied before. For example, machine design may have a prerequisite of technical drawing. Sixthly, the salary differential between different jobs must be as little as possible so that there is no clamor for certain streams of education like management, medical, engineering, etc. It will then be possible for anyone to pursue any line of activity that suits her liking and aptitude and still live as well as anyone else. This will probably achieve another purpose of cooling the economy that has become bloated and high cost with an ever accelerating race towards more and more. Then money will cease to be the motive and we will see a happier society. Now let's talk about economy. Some countries reaped the benefits of the Industrial Revolution in the earlier part of the last century. In the last few decades, it was the information and communication technology that was in the forefront of the development juggernaut. These two together have contributed in a major way to the great change that the civilization on this planet has undergone. These developments kept on making our life materially more and more comfortable. However, on the other side of the coin, there are many undesirable effects like deterioration of environment and loss of happiness for most human beings. The advancement in the industrial, technological and communications fields has been driven by science and technology with an eye on the external world around. Thus it was as if the whole human endeavor was guided by the objects around us rather than by our own conscious thinking. Though in the process that brought in some material benefits for us as individuals and also as a society, the fact remains that we as individuals lost our prime position as the central focus of the human activity. Economic development was guided more and more by the considerations of profits and dividends rather than making the overall life of a maximum number of people happier. Economic activity is being driven more and more by technology for its own sake rather than as a means of attaining happiness. Objects rather than human beings have become central to our existence as a society. Education also followed meekly so that its objective gradually changed to producing economic machines rather than good human beings that would be responsible members of society. How can this situation be changed for the better? First of all, we as a society need to shift our focus away from economic growth for its own sake. We need to discard the parameters like gross domestic product or GDP and adopt some other parameters that focus on live individuals rather than lifeless products. So far, the economic activity has got bloated and human life unnecessarily costlier by an order of magnitude that is avoidable. Instead, let the economic activities not be guided by governments or corporates, but rather by individuals. Let every individual engage himself or herself in an activity that suits his or her aptitude and liking. Then the sum total for the society as a whole will certainly be a much more happier result. Education then will have to be tuned to every individual's aptitude so as to allow her to develop into a good citizen, contributing in her own small or big way and being happy at the same time. Educators in such a scenario will merely be facilitators rather than teachers. There need be no examinations, no unnecessary competition, and the resultant stress on the children and the youth. Every person will live in his or her own way as a happy individual rather than as a mere small cog in the giant economic wheel. Every individual will then be living a life that will be a genuine expression of his or her true being rather than struggling to forge a life that is dictated by one's family, neighbors, community and society, as also the marketplace. Having said this, I know it will amount to turning the wheel of civilization back, which cannot happen. So the next best thing that a spiritual seeker should do is to withdraw from the economic rat race and that is what I have done at the earliest opportune time. Thank you. I'll stop here and talk to you the next time. Until then, bye. Take care.